I'm not a contractor. I'm just a guy trying to build my house on a budget. And I got a quote for $20,000 to add central heating and air to this 1,100 square foot home. I think I can do it myself at a fraction of the price with no specialty tools or equipment. So make sure to watch to the end to find out just how much this system ended up costing me. What the heck? Oh no, Courtney. Woo! Today we're going to be installing highly efficient central ducted heating and air conditioning in this home that is all electric using heat pump technology to heat and cool the air. We're going to be breaking this install down into 3 phases. The first is installing the air handler and the ductwork. The second is going to be running the electrical and the refrigeration lines. And the third is going to be installing the outside unit that houses the condenser and compressor. First step, drain pan. All of the installation materials we're using today are just like readily available HVAC supplies. We're trying to keep this as DIY friendly as possible and not have to make any special parts. Drain fitting for the overflow pan. That's set up. Next up is the stand. The hardest part of any project is just getting started. And so finding somewhere to get started and just making progress. So let's do it, let's make some progress. This stand is for a water heater, but it's the perfect size for the air handler and I think it's gonna work great. But we need a way to let air get up through the bottom of the unit, so we can't have it be solid like this. Yeah, this poopy drill bit. All the way through. How is that even possible? All right, let's connectorize the dots. Sometimes I way overthink house stuff and like securing things. And then I remember that houses don't drive down the road. Oh yeah, that is super sturdy. So then that is gonna set in there. Okay, up onto the stand. That stand is perfect. It literally looks like it was made for this. This is the air handler. It's the thing that moves the air around in the home. We had a few options for where to install this. A lot of times they're installed up in the attic, but we don't have space in our attic for it. What I liked about having it inside the house is it dramatically simplified the return air ducting, which we'll go over later, and also that it keeps all of the ducting and the unit inside the insulated envelope of the house, which should help to improve its efficiency. So I think next is gonna be to move on to ductwork. I'm a visual person. I like to see what I'm doing from start to finish before I get started. So I'm gonna place all these registers where they go. We're gonna install them, and then we can plan how we're gonna get the ducting connected to each one of them. Who doesn't like a cozy bathroom? So we're gonna have one in the bathroom. So we're gonna have one of these in the bedroom there. Just to keep the airflow even, we're gonna have another one over here in the bedroom. Another 6-inch in this bathroom. That's gonna go right here. This bedroom is going to get 2. So we're gonna have one here over the door and another one over here above the closet. In the instruction manual for our air handler, it gives a spec for CFM, cubic feet per minute of air volume that it has, as well as air velocity. And then there are online tables and calculators where you can take those 2 factors, you can put in the square footage size of each room, and it'll help you figure out how big of a duct you should have in each room. Our biggest rooms have the biggest ducts and the most of them, and they get smaller as our rooms get smaller. Now we can slide it back and forth. I don't know, what do you think, like centered over the doorway? Can you slide it out? Oh, there we go. Are nails just like popular from an era before cordless tools? Maybe like a hammer is the OG cordless tool. They're all lined up because we're getting all our ducks in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. All the registers are installed, which means it's time to move on to the ductwork.
Figuring out this ductwork was extremely intimidating for me, but I think I've come up with a way to do it that doesn't require any special tools and doesn't require fabricating of any sheet metal parts. So the way this works is that ambient air comes in through the bottom of this unit. It comes up through where it either gets heated or cooled, then it gets sent out this plenum and up into the attic. Once we're up in the attic, we need a way to distribute that air into all these registers that we installed through ductwork. Our first job installing that ductwork is to build ourselves a distribution box that lets us take this big diameter and branch it out into all the smaller diameter ducts that run to each register. We have a hole here, then we're gonna have a hole here, here, and a hole centered on that mark. Every good project starts with cardboard. Okay, now going back. We're gonna be building our distribution box out of this 16-inch rigid duct and these 8-inch takeoffs. I was walking around looking for a template that I could use to somehow mark the holes I need to cut, and I realized they come with a template. Boom, template. I saw some people call this style of system an octopus system, where all of the ducts come together in one central location and then like octopus through the house. And they kind of hate on it because it means that every single one of your runs is a home run of smaller ductwork. But in our case, in this house, where all of our runs are going to be really short because our HVAC system is right in the middle of the house and the house is pretty small, I think it's going to work really well, be really simple and inexpensive. In larger houses, they do what's called a trunk system, where there's one big main line that runs through the house, and then all the smaller ones like branch off of that. And some angry eyebrows. Okay, crazy death wheel. There's got to be a better way to do that, right? And that goes on there like that. One hole down, 4 to go. Other than my jacket tassels, that was so much safer. We have to do this with our stovepipe. I think I should do it on the ground. You just kind of roll it in like... Ow. Definitely better with gloves on. There it goes. Oh, I'm gonna try ratchet strapping it so it can't keep moving on me. Someone out there's laughing at me. Oh, now that's in too. There it goes. Then it goes on the inside or the outside? Outside. Kind of looks like a spaceman's hat. The dilemma is that the ones they had in stock are for a different size pipe. So the radius on them is not quite right. I think these are for a 12. The guy at the store told me just smash them and make them fit. That is a funny looking hat. Oh, it's gotten heavy too. I got this stuff called Pookie or something funny like that. I don't know. I'm sure someone knows. Drop in the comments below. What's the trade name for this stuff? But it's mastic duct sealant, and you paint it into all the little goops and gaps to make this thing actually airtight. I've seen this stuff on duct systems before, and I was always like, what is that goo? And now I know. So now I should go around into this gap all the way around. I'm gonna finish this arts and crafts project, and then we'll see you tomorrow when we hook up the ducting. Good morning. How do we do, Courtney? It looks pretty good. Is it dry? Dry-ish? I think the next step is to mount this so we can start figuring out how to run the actual ductwork. I was just gonna stick it up into the ceiling and build a little box and then screw it into the box. These are not cookies. These are called dampers. So these takeoffs have holes already in it, and then each one of these is like a spring-loaded thing. They're fancy for being, I think it was $5. Boom. So the vent covers I got do have a damper built in, and you can choke the air down here, but that tends to be really noisy when you choke the air down right here at the register. We're having this way back in the system, it shouldn't be noisy. And this is gonna let us be able to individually control each one of our sort of 5 zones of heating and air in this house. There you wanna try? What the heck? This damper is completely missing. It doesn't even have the hole for it. That is so strange.
You know what it looks like?
What's it look like?
You're a little kid in the science fair and you made some like space machine.
I bet this thing could go to space. Let's screw it into place. Oh no, Courtney. Wait, this bay is bigger. Oh. Got it up, okay. Flip it over this way. Is that clear? Yeah, that clears all the insulation. One problem I see is that this point's right at that. I think I'm just gonna turn it a little more. Oh, that is like stout. I wasn't sure if we're gonna need to add something up here, but no, that's good. And I just got goo all over my hands. This is my official engineered plan for my ductwork. So we have 2 vents in the living kitchen area, a 6-inch in the bath, 2 6s in this bedroom, a 6 and an 8 in this bedroom, and then a 6 in the master bathroom. And each one doesn't necessarily have a home run. There's a few splices. So like here, this 8 is gonna Y into a 6 and an 8. This 8's gonna Y into 2 6s. But we're just gonna try to do this in order so we don't run into ourselves. So I'm gonna start with these 2 8s right here. There's 25 feet of duct in this box and insulation. Woo! My research suggested is that you wanna pull this stuff tight. Like it needs to be sort of, not stretched, but tight. Because you can see inside here that when it's tight, it's pretty smooth, but when it's scrunched up, it's really rough inside and that impedes airflow. So it's kind of important that we get the right lengths. I'm gonna go with 34 inches. I've got the official Ductwork knife, which is just a kitchen knife I stole out of the RV. There's a piece of steel wire inside of it that helps keep it shape. So I cut through that with some pliers and now every new project is an excuse for a new tool. Apparently this is like the official zip tie puller cutter tool. So first the actual duct goes on, which is the inside part. Fancy zip tie. This slides on like this. And I think it's gonna automatically cut the zip tie off when I get enough tension on it.
Whoa.
That was pretty sweet. Now we do the same thing on the other side. No, I made it too short, Courtney. Yeah, dang it. Okay, take 2. With a longer piece of duct. And then now we pull the insulation over. Now we're branching, and this 8 is gonna Y and continue as an 8 into this big register in the master bedroom, and then reduce down to a 6 into the one in the bathroom. So as soon as it gets enough tension, there's a spring-loaded knife blade right here and it just cuts the zip tie. So this is the scrap that was too short from earlier, so that's pretty cool. Using up scraps. Crank that puppy down. Time for the 6. So I found some charts online that show the CFM capacity of each size ductwork, and basically 6 is good for 100 CFM, 8 is good for 200 CFM. Our air handler is good for a maximum of 1,000 CFM. So the 16-inch duct that's gonna go up from our air handler is the right size for 1,000 CFM, where then if you take, we have 5 branches off of our distribution box, they're all 8s. That adds up to the 1,000 that's coming up through the 16. That's the gist of it. And then from there, I tried to size the CFM that's going to each room proportionately to the square footage of the house. So we have about 1,000 square foot house, and we have about 1,000 CFM to work with. So every 100 square feet of room gets 100 CFM of airflow. This one's like more janky. The 8 came out like all like, so my end is pretty lined up, and we just want to make sure that your end gets lined up. There are like these fancy boot things you can get for connecting short chunks like this. I don't know. There are so many fancy parts you can use. I was trying to use common off-the-shelf stuff and try to stick to like 2 sizes. I don't know. I do not like working with gloves. They frustrate me. They annoy me. I don't have any dexterity. I feel like I can't get anything done. So yes, I acknowledge that I am working with fiberglass without gloves on. It's been acknowledged. Hello? Anybody home? The Y is done, and now we can do our home run back to the Flectopus.
You know what we're calling it?
The Flectopus.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Last piece of duct going up. Getting ducty with it, not getting ducky with it. I'm pretty happy with how everything like worked out, you know? All the runs kind of like make sense. Nothing's very long. All the bends are nice and long. Okay, last piece and our Flectopus is done. Oh, I made this like substantially too long.
It's your duct dance.
Yeah, so final one. So this plenum here is gonna go right on top. 2 feet. Again, this was an off-the-shelf part. I found that the dimensions were pretty close, but not perfect. Got this small piece of aluminum angle, and we're just gonna add another flange right here to the top of the air handler so that we have a place to screw that plenum into. We can set our intake plenum on for the last time, because even if we have to pull this unit out for service or something, all we have to do is disconnect the flex duct from the plenum. The plenum's never gonna have to come off the air handler ever again. We're gonna use some sheet metal screws and screw this plenum down to the flange that's on the air handler. To make sure that the connection between the plenum and the air handler is airtight, we're gonna add some foil tape so that if for some reason down the line we ever needed to remove this, it's not covered in mastic. So in the refrigeration process, liquid refrigerant is released and turned into a vapor, and that happens right here inside the evaporator. The evaporator gets super cold, so then our air that's traveling through this unit passes through the evaporator and the air is then cooled. And in the process, any water vapor that's in the air is going to condense and collect on that coil in there, where it's eventually then gonna drip down into the drain pan here in the bottom of the unit. So we need a way to route all of that water that's condensed and collected in this drain pan outside, and that's called the condensate drain. You see, this unit's set up to either be able to work on its side or vertically like we have it, and so it has 2 sets of drains. We're gonna be using this lower set here. There's a primary, and then slightly above it, there's a secondary drain for in case the primary gets clogged. So water in this trap is an air block that prevents this from pulling air. So we have our trap right here, and it comes around into this T, where it goes down into the basement. Then we're gonna have it run across the basement and exit outside on that side of the house. This other line here comes up and it's just open to the air. So this is an air vent. If you imagine, like, if you hold your thumb over the end of a straw and pull it up out of your cup and the water is stuck in the straw, the same thing can happen in a plumbing system that doesn't have a proper vent. So it's important that we have the vent to prevent the water from backing up and then overflowing the drain pan. Which brings us to our next project, which is hooking up the secondary drain. See that thing inside there? If enough water gets in here, it's gonna cause that little donut to float up and hit a switch right here, so it's a safety. And if this condensate drain ever got clogged, the drain pan would fill up, it would hit this float switch, kill the entire unit, and stop it before we had water overflowing and there was damage to the home. Plug it in. Condensate drain and the condensate drain flow switch are done. Included with this MRCOOL Versapro air handler is the MRCOOL smart thermostat, which we're gonna be using, but it's also compatible with like basically any other thermostat in existence. So it has all sorts of configurations in here. All we have to do for our thermostat is run it from in here to right here in the living room. And we are done with the thermostat wire. So in the summertime, it runs the air conditioning circuit in one direction to cool the home. And in the wintertime, it actually just reverses the air conditioning circuit the opposite way so that the cold side is outside and the hot side is inside. And my experience with heat pumps is that they work great, even in super cold temperatures. However, there is a point where the temperature outside is so cold that we just can't extract enough heat energy out of it. That's where this comes in. This is a MRCOOL auxiliary heat strip unit. So this installs right here between the blower and the ducting and adds extra heat energy to the system if we need it. It only turns this on if the heat pump isn't able to supply enough heat energy to the home. There we go. So all we have left now in here is to wire the power up. This wire is only for powering the auxiliary heat strip. It's more wire and power than runs to the entire outside unit of this system that's capable of way more BTUs of heat output than that little heat strip is. So pretty crazy how much electricity it takes to heat a home with a resistance heat versus a heat pump. Let's just try lifting it straight off. Nice, thank you. Which brings us to phase 3 of this project, the outside unit. This is the outside unit that houses both the condenser and the compressor. It's where the vapor refrigerant is compressed back into a liquid to then be used to heat or cool the home. And it needs to be outside because it's where the heat is expelled in the summertime and absorbed in the wintertime. This unit is sized larger than we need upstairs, but we have plans to add future HVAC downstairs. And what is so cool about these MRCOOL systems is that they have a multi-zone setup, which means that we can have 2 separate air conditioning systems, the central system upstairs and a mini split downstairs, connected to the same compressor and condenser. What makes these MRCOOL DIY products so homeowner friendly and unique is this line set. So this is the MRCOOL pre-charged DIY line set, and the unique thing are these fittings right here. These are quick connect sealed fittings. The entire system is already evacuated and pre-charged with refrigerant. And that means that as soon as we connect our indoor unit to this outdoor unit with this line set, our system is properly charged with refrigerant, ready to heat and cool, no calling an HVAC service technician. 3 days later, and honestly, I'm stoked with how this system is turning out. We don't have any siding yet, so that's as far as we can get for now. I know that every home is unique and every building jurisdiction is different, and your install is probably gonna look different than ours, but we did this entire install for less than $5,000 in materials. That includes the outside unit and the DIY line set that we haven't installed yet, which means that we saved $15,000 by doing this project ourselves. I've gone ahead and I've put together a complete spreadsheet of all of the materials we used on this project, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. If you'd like to learn more about the complete lineup of MRCOOL products, head to the link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.